stop giving God a bad reputation. I feel like a lot of people, they misrepresent God. A lot of people who claim to be Christians, claim to be believers, claim to have a relationship with God, they misrepresent Him. And the only way that people will come to know God, will come to know Jesus Christ, is through other people, through people who are evangelists, through people who represent Him in a well way. When people ask about it, people get curious and they're like, how are you this way? I'm this way because I'm transformed through His grace. I'm transformed through His mercy. But I feel like a lot of people nowadays, they'll claim to be a believer. They'll wear a cross around their neck and they'll go and they'll misrepresent God. They'll be angry, resentful, disrespectful people, and that leaves a bad taste in people's mouth of God, because you claim to be a Christian, you claim to be a believer, yet the fruit that you're showing is not the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit and the way that you're acting isn't in a godly manner. You claim to be a Christian, you claim to have a relationship with God, but when you're having a conversation with somebody, you don't see their perspective. You cut them off, you try to tell them what's right and what's wrong. But God doesn't do that. A lot of us, I understand, going to church all my life, there are a lot of people who claim to be Christians, and it always seems like they're on their high horse. It seems like they think that you're better than them because they go to church. They go to church, they're Christian, so automatically they are more valuable than you. And that's not the case. We're all the same. A lot of people, they're not actually transformed. A lot of people, they don't show the fruit of the Spirit. And a lot of people misrepresent God. A lot of people drive a lot of people away from God because of the way that they are, the way that they act. They don't show the fruit of the Spirit. So the fruit of the Spirit is in Galatians 5:22. So I'm reading out of the NIV version. To me, I don't really have like a preferred version. I've just been reading the NIV my whole life. I've seen other books, but to me, as long as you're getting your protein intake, that's all that matters. You could be getting your protein intake from chicken, from steak, protein shakes, from fish, whatever it is. But the people who tell you, oh, you need to be reading the standard English version, the ESV, the English Standard Version, or the St. James Version, or whatever version, they're like, nah, this is the best one. No, you need to read this one. That one isn't the best. But to me, as long as you're reading the Bible, as long as you're filling your spirit with His Word, that's all that matters. And this is Galatians 5:22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the sinful nature with its passions and desires. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking and envying each other. I feel like a lot of Christians become conceited. They think that they're better than everybody else. And a lot of Christians don't show the fruit of the Spirit. Sometimes I feel not embarrassed to say that I'm a Christian, but I like using the word I'm a believer. I have a relationship with God. Because when people hear that you're a Christian, they automatically are like, here we go again. This person is going to try to tell me how to live my life. They're going to tell me what's wrong, what's right, what to believe. But if you tell them that you're just a believer and you have a relationship with God, it's different, because there's a religion and there's a relationship. But you need to have a relationship. People who go to church on Sunday, they're considered Christians, but they don't know Jesus personally. They don't talk to Him daily. They're not in His Word daily. And those people claim to be Christians, but they don't have a real relationship with God. So stop misrepresenting Him. Stop claiming to be a Christian, but you see all the time on social media. People claim to be Christians. People claim to be believers, yet you see them at the club on the weekend. You see them drinking, smoking, going to parties. They're cussing. They're laying up with all these different people. All the time you see influencers talk about God. You see influencers talk about Jesus, and they're not living in a godly way. They're not showing the fruits of the Spirit, and I feel like that turns a lot of people away. They're like, this person is supposed to be a Christian. Why are they acting this way? And if this is who a Christian is, then I don't want any part in that. I don't want any part in your God, because the way that you're treating me, you're treating me like I'm less than you. You're treating me like I'm not a valuable person. But Jesus sat with sinners. He sat with tax collectors. I feel like a lot of us, we don't actually know. We don't understand that we need to be with the people who need God. We can't always surround ourselves with Christians, because it says in the Bible that the sick need the doctor. The healthy don't need the doctor. People who don't know God need a faithful person to bring them to God. So stop thinking that you can't sit with the sick. You can't sit and you can't have respectful conversations with people who don't believe. And that's a big problem that I feel a lot of Christian people have. A lot of people who are believers, they have a hard problem. So this is Mark 2:13, the calling of Levi. Once again, Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him, and he began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," Jesus told him. And Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." And we need to treat everybody in our life like this. Just because somebody doesn't believe in God, just because somebody is a Buddhist, somebody is a Muslim, somebody is agnostic, somebody is a Satanist, it doesn't matter. We need to treat everybody with love and kindness. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get it wrong. A lot of people who claim to be believers, a lot of people who claim to be Christians, they don't show the fruit of the Spirit. They're not patient, they're not kind. A lot of people, they're not good, they're not joyful, they have no self-control, and it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. But you need to represent Christ in a godly manner. You need to sit with those sinners. You need to sit with those tax collectors. You have to sit with those scum people and show them God's love, show them Jesus's love. Because if not you, then who? Who's going to bring them to God? If we don't heal the sick, if we don't sit with the sick, then who's going to? Stop misrepresenting God. Stop misrepresenting Christ. If you're truly transformed through him, then you would show the fruit of the Spirit. You need to ask yourself, am I really transformed? Am I really a believer? Do I have a personal relationship with God, or do I just like the aesthetic of it? Do I just like wearing a cross around my neck? Do I just like having a Bible verse in my Instagram story? Do I like just going to church on Sunday so I can meet a wife? What is it? Do you just like the aesthetic of saying you believe in God? Do you just like praying to God when times get tough, asking him and treating him like he's some Santa Claus person where any gift that you want, you ask him and he gives? You need to have a personal relationship with God. You need to start representing him in a good way, in a godly way. Stop giving God a bad reputation. Stop misrepresenting God.